This is a movie review for Pacific Heights, starring Michael Keaton. So, it's a pretty good movie. It came out in 1990. It's a psychological thriller directed by John Schlesinger. Schlesinger. He he directed Marathon Man, which is a great movie. Midnight Cowboy, which I've seen once. It's a pretty strange movie. Um, but yeah, I've seen Pacific Heights a couple times now. It's a really good movie. It basically Matthew Modine and Melanie Griffith are in San Francisco. They buy like their dream home, and um, they live at the top, and there's two apartments in the bottom they rent out, and they rent out to two people, husband and wife, and they're really good tenants, and they end up renting it to Michael Keaton, who is basically crazy and a terrible tenant, and is basically a like a con artist who's trying to basically uh, get the house for himself. Um, but yeah, this is a great movie. Michael Keaton is amazing in it. Um, I'm not a massive Matthew Modine fan, but he's good in it. Melanie Griffith's really good. I think Keaton and Griffith are really good. Maybe I'm just not a massive Modine fan, but yeah, it's a really good movie. It's a psychological thriller. Michael Keaton is very intense. Um, so I'd say if you're a fan of Melanie Griffith, Keaton, or Modine, check it out. If you're a fan of some of this director's other movies, I'd check it out. He's a good director. Marathon Man's a great movie. I'd probably say I like that a little bit more than this, but it's pretty good though. Definitely recommend it. It's definitely one of Keaton's best performances, I'd say. Um, but yeah, I'll go into spoilers now. So he basically is he rents the apartment out. He flashes a bunch of money in front of Matthew Modine, and he's like, I'll pay you. You know, I think he's like, I'll pay for 6 months, and he just wants first and last month's rent. And because he's like, because I travel a lot and I'm not going to be here, so I'll just pay you 6 months. And he says okay, but he wants to do a credit check. But he basically convinces him not to, that he'll pay him this. He says okay, and then a few days later, um, Keaton kind of just moves in without telling them, and he never actually pays him, and he's always gone. The door's always locked. He changes the locks too. There's another guy that kind of stays in there too, and you don't really know much about that guy, but who's the actor who plays him? Um, let's see, is this it? Yeah, I think it's this guy, Luca Bercovici. Um, and you kind of get the feeling that he's like maybe like a construction worker or contractor, because they're constantly doing all this noise inside with like construction work, which drives the other people who live there really angry, and um, they can't get the rent from him. They're really angry at the guy, and they um, so Matthew Modine one night gets really angry. He goes down there. He's trying to talk to them. They won't let him in. So he shuts off the power and he shuts off their heat. And then a few days later, he gets sued by them by Michael Keaton. And all of this is what Keaton wants them to do because he knows the law. So he gets sued by them because you can't do that, even though they haven't paid him anything. Um, So then they have to hire a lawyer. They're already like going bankrupt um, because they could barely afford the house, and they were relying on the tenants to pay their rent, to pay the rent. And basically, throughout the whole movie, he's just manipulating them and playing them like a fiddle. Um, and and then he gets Matthew Modine, and he beats, and then Matthew Modine. Um, and then also Melanie Griffith gets pregnant. She loses the pregnancy probably because of all the stress. And um, Michael Keaton goes up there and like says he's sorry she lost the pregnancy, and he's just playing them like a fiddle. Matthew Modine attacks him, beats him up, which is exactly what Keaton wants. So he takes him to court again. He gets a restraining order, and he's going to sue him. And um, which really angers Modine, and he stays at his friend's house, but then he ends up going back there even though he's not supposed to. And Michael Keaton, he's walking upstairs to go see his wife, and then Michael Keaton ambushes him and shoots him twice in the leg and the arm. He plants a weapon on him, and they're like, well, hey, we can't do anything. You had a restraining order against you, and it looked like you attacked him. He's just defending himself. So again, he's playing them. And in the end, basically, him and his friend like destroy the apartment. They're planting cockroaches throughout the apartment to get the other tenants out, so that they go bankrupt, and then I guess he try and I guess buy it under them. Um, but in the end, they actually do get him evicted. They kick him out, and then he disappears, and they kind of find out more about him, that he's this trust fund guy that lives off of a huge trust fund that his brother controls, and his family wants nothing to do with him because he's a really manipulative and a terrible person. And basically, Melanie Griffith tracks him down, and then she starts to manipulate him, and she kind of turns the tables on him. So, and and basically that's how the movie ends. Then he gets locked up in jail. He was stealing the Modine's credit cards, and they end up canceling the credit cards, and they charge all this money to the guy's room. He stays like in the Marriott, I think. So he ends up going to jail, and then he gets out, and then he goes back and he attacks them, um, and then Keaton actually ends up getting killed in the attack, uh, uh, falling on these pipes or something. So, but it's a really good movie. Um, I do think the movie is kind of like all of this is Matthew Modine's fault, and he just keeps making the situation worse and worse and worse. So I don't know. His character's kind of weak, I would say. Um, but like I said, I think Michael Keaton and Melanie Griffith they're the strongest performances, best written characters, especially the last act, how she turns the tables on Michael Keaton. is really good. Really well direction. Um, like I said, the director is a pretty good director, so he knows what he's doing. And Keaton just plays he's such a terrible person. You just really don't like him. And he's great. You know, this was a year after Batman the movie, so he he just had huge stardom in Batman. He's a huge star now. And it's a little risky because he's playing a villain in this, but um like a really unlikable guy. So but he's very good and creepy too. So I'd highly recommend the movie. If you're a fan of Michael Keaton or Melanie Griffith, definitely check it out, or the director. Um, but yeah, it's well shot too. So, and it's in San Francisco. It's a really nice location. But yeah, I guess that's about it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and